How many times have you written something new and things are finally starting to click? It feels good, it feels fresh, you're excited about it. And then like a day later, you come back to it, you re-listen to it, and you're like, that's not as good as I thought it was. This is really I hate this. I thought this was good and this is actually terrible. And like, what the hell? What's going on? For a lot of us, our musical imagination can far outpace our actual skill in composition. And so we can hear incredible and amazing pieces of music in our head just like that. It's just instant. And you're like, oh man, this is so good. And then it's really hard to like capture that lightning in a bottle and write it down. And oh, okay, well, let me just jot all that down. It's oftentimes pretty impossible, especially in the beginning stages, to do something like that. What happens is it can create a feedback loop where you're like, okay, well, like I hear something amazing in my head. Okay, I'm gonna try and write it down, and then you start to get into it, and then it's okay, and then you listen to it later. You're like, man, this isn't the thing, and then either you keep trying or you stop. And unfortunately, this is a hard thing to get out of at the beginning if you don't know how to get out of it. And this particular feeling is very normal. It's super normal. Everyone feels that in a way. The trick is understanding. I mean, really internalizing, really like intellectually and emotionally, if possible, understanding that in order for you to grow in any artistic field, but specifically in composition, in order for you to grow, you have to write something that is beyond your comfort zone, beyond like that's just slightly beyond the ability that you have, slightly beyond what you know you can do really, really well. And that means pushing yourself outside of something that feels really good or feels inspired or even this is something that, sounds good. That's a normal part of the process. Because it inevitably is, if you're really trying to push yourself, it's going to be something new. And that means that it's not familiar. And by that definition, it means it's way harder to feel comfortable in something that, well, you don't really know very well, that you don't know that you're doing it right. When trying something new, whether it's a new style or a new texture or some new element, whatever it is, the size of the piece, the instrumentation, the scope, whatever, doesn't matter. Whatever it is, you're likely not going to like how it will feel. Any artist who's working on their craft is going to feel this way, is going to wrestle with it. Whatever level they're at, certainly beginners, even people who are kind of like sort of mid-tier career blossoming, kind of where I'm at currently, I'm still grappling with stuff. And even people who are at the professional level, who are really like, have like wide fame and notoriety, if they're really improving and working hard, they're going to feel this. I know for me, working on this big wind ensemble piece, it pushed me in a lot of different ways. And as you're going to see through the next few videos, I struggle with it, and I'm gonna completely share that part of my process. I recorded myself during the year working on this new piece, just sharing my like kind of raw thoughts, just so that like that you're not alone if you're like struggling with the piece that you're currently working on, and it isn't easy. It's very unlikely that a piece that you work on is just gonna magically come down from the clouds and everything's gonna be great, and you start at measure one, and it goes all the way to the end. No, compositional process is like super messy and often aggravating and can be frustrating, and just know that like that's pretty normal, that's understandable, and it's okay.
So it is the middle of June on the dissertation summer project year, and I'm gonna be honest, it's not going great. It's actually a real challenge. I think grappling with the size of the form is really an issue, and also the immense size of the instrumentation that I selected. I wanted to pick something that was a challenge for me. I wanted to pick something that that I hadn't done before, and I'm definitely feeling it. Even things that I didn't realize I had so many comfort zones. Having to get to do so much with orchestra, you kind of get used to certain figurations, certain places that you go when you're in a crunch. I don't really have that in the wind ensemble. It's such a different creature, despite seemingly being so similar. So I'm still very much grasping with the scope of it. Yeah, gonna put in my hours today and see what happens. So I think that what is interesting about this is that I think it's intentionally uncomfortable. I think that's part of the process, actually. If you're trying to do something that you've never done before, there are inevitably going to be things about it that you don't know, that you're going to trip over. It's like walking around in a room with the lights out. It's you can't see, and they don't have a way of knowing what kind of things you're going to stumble on. I think that's part of what's making this so tricky. I'm a little intimidated by the size of the piece. I've written a couple of pieces that are, around the 20-minute mark before, and specifically for wind ensemble, and I haven't been particularly happy with either one of them. It's one of the only pieces that friends of mine, after the performance were like, hey man, just being honest, I didn't really like that piece. I don't think it was very good. Which obviously is like tough to hear, but also truthful. And so I kind of have that on my mind here, and I feel a lot of pressure with the particular form. So I think the mission right now is to get used to it, to get comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable. I think something that's starting to come into view for me is the importance of letting go with this kind of thing. I haven't done anything quite like this, so while it is intimidating, it's also, you have to remember that there are of course going to be bumps in the road, and this is part of the journey, that's part of it, that's part of the deal. So learning to let go and change the focus of what it is that I'm doing. And instead of focusing, I'm making the mistake of trying to write a good piece. And instead just need to focus on writing the piece, write the measures. Not worry about the pressure of it being great or good or whatever, but instead focus on just writing it and letting go of that. I think that's the big monkey on the back, because I want it to be very good, and it needs to be very good, but it doesn't. It just needs to be, and that's the takeaway for today. A beginning of a project like this is kind of so daunting in size, or it's just larger than what I've really worked in before, is making sure you have the clarity of purpose and really thinking about, okay, well, why am I doing this way? Why is this thing here, rather than just writing it and feeling it out. I mean, the feeling of it is important, but having more of an understanding that I can articulate to others, I think is very valuable. So yeah, we're going to see how it goes, but already the finding a different sort of clarity this morning, I think, because I have to. It's funny, I'm sitting here on a Monday after doing the live stream, and it's funny how many ideas have like suddenly appeared in my mind about how I want to treat the beginning. Like I'm literally have like a million ideas of how I want to redo the bass drum sound and what's gonna give that a little bit more dimension, and I had a great idea about using offstage trumpets to get a certain idea to come across. And so it's funny how this part of the process, as I'm inside of it, going from not feeling so great about it to remembering that it's playtime. It's about exploration and not knowing is part of it. And that's like the lesson I have to keep relearning almost every day, frankly at this point, is that it isn't about always knowing exactly how it's going to go, just trusting the process. If you love the process, you're going to love what the process brings you. And so that's kind of that's my tidbit of today, is the trusting that. And because you never know when a great idea is going to hit you in the shower. Like, literally in the shower, oh my God, what if I did this thing? And it just suddenly is clear. It makes so much sense. So I think that composition kind of works. It's kind of like a puzzle, right? You have an idea of like the overall shape, like it has to fit, it has to start at the beginning, it has to end, right? But each day that you work, you get a piece of that puzzle. But we don't have like a picture of it. We might have like a rough idea of where it's supposed to go. And you get one piece each day that you show up, each day that you work. And the next day you're really lucky if you get another piece that fits together, that goes, oh yeah, well this goes next to this. Of course, it's obvious. But then the third day you might work and get a piece, you're like, okay, I don't really know where this one goes. I have no idea. And it doesn't fit with the rest of it. I'm not sure. And you may have no clues with it. But the more that you show up with it, day after day after day, you might in like week 7 or something like, oh, this thing goes here. This thing connects here. So it's kind of funny. I think that's more what I'm discovering with this not knowing business, is that's really an intentional part of the process. I've never understood the idea of the architect. Talk about the George R.R. Martin, there are gardeners and then there are architects. I've been very much part of the gardener attitude. And I don't know. I think that's very interesting. You can have like a rough idea, but I really can't find the piece until I'm inside of it. So I hope that's I don't know. How does that resonate with you? What do you think? Do you have to start with a plan and then stick to the plan, or do you have kind of a guideline and then you build from there as you walk it? I find that the map is not the territory. It's not the same thing. It's just an idea. It's a way of looking at the territory. It's not being inside of it. So yeah, I think that's, I don't know. I think that's an interesting thing. So here's to not knowing. Continuing with the analogy of, the puzzle piece that you get every day, is that sometimes the actual piece itself may not be crystal clear what it is. Like, it might be kind of grimy, or part of it is unclear. That's something that I found so many times, where I have a little idea that I just kind of write off. It just comes along and I say, oh, okay, great. Here's my little thing. And it actually ends up becoming very, very important. I don't actually really know how important it is in the moment of writing it, which is kind of a funny thing. And I think that that's an important part of this, is that, even if you have the material, that isn't to say that that's the only thing that it's going to do, is be the thing that it is that it might be a structural thing. It may become more important the more that you play with it, the more that you work with it. And I think the idea of playing with the material, that it's less, I don't know, sometimes when I feel like I have to construct this thing, and construct is like a very it's kind of an intense verb, right? There's sort of a limited view that comes from that, at least in my book. Maybe it's different. Different words mean different things to different people. But the idea of playing feels more right for me. I don't know. Maybe it does for you. What do you think about this? Do you have like a particular verb that you think about when you're making your pieces? Are you writing it? Are you composing it? Or is there something different about writing a piece versus composing a piece? In this case, playing with material or using it to build. Play feels that there's more of an allowance for discovery. The goal isn't to this goes here and this goes here. It's exploring the possibility. And I think that's an important part of this that kind of goes a bit understated. There's a parallel between not knowing what you're going to do inside of a piece of music, and between not knowing what's going to happen next for you in your career as a composer, in your life. Not knowing is a key part of the process. If you already knew it, well, then it would already be done. I'm going to share with you a video that a teacher gave to me that was just super, super helpful. Ira Glass on the creative process.
Nobody tells people who are beginners, and I really wish somebody had told this to me, is that all of us who do creative work, we get into it, and we get into it because we have good taste. But it's like there's a gap, that for the first couple of years that you're making stuff, what you're making isn't so good, okay? It's not that great. I know who does interesting creative work, they went through a phase of years where they had really good taste, they could tell what they were making wasn't as good as they wanted it to be. They knew it felt short. It didn't have this special thing that we wanted it to have. And the thing I would say to you is everybody goes through that.
This is a gold mine. It's like 2 minutes, but it's an absolute gold mine of a video. My teacher, Carlos Rafael Rivera, gave this to me. He's a film composer. He teaches at University of Miami, and he's done things like The Queen's Gambit, and he's like Grammy nominated and all of this. I mean, he's amazing. But I remember he shared this to me after I shared a cue that, let's just put it politely, really did not go well. I really was not the best that it could be. I really kind of screwed up the mixing, and it just didn't land. And this is something that he gave to me. He's like, look, just keep this in mind. This is something that I return to. And so anyway, so I'm giving this to you. I hope that you find something out of it, because I know I have. I return to it frequently. To sum all this up, at the end of the day, when you show up, even if you don't feel like it, and you won't feel like it most of the time, you will still get rewarded. You still participate in the process. You do not get inspired to work. You work to get inspired. So wherever you are, if you're struggling with something, you're not alone. Keep going. Keep working on it. Keep showing up, and it will eventually reveal itself to you. And it's okay if it doesn't become the thing that you immediately imagined that it would be. You get closer to that every time that you write a piece. You just get a little bit closer, and eventually you do get there. Good luck. I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.